Okay, today's 9.2, day 2, and you may recall that I told you that I taught you pretty much everything you needed to know yesterday, and today we were just going to have more time to just work on problems and stuff. So that's what we're doing. Uh, but tonight's homework is to start where we left off yesterday, which was up here in this gray page. But I did let you skip everything at the bottom of the gray page, and we're starting the homework here on the orange page. All of these are assigned. They're all doable, not super hard problems. This little squiggly sigma here means you're supposed to add up all the terms. Don't just list them. You can list the terms as a good way to start, but then you don't have to list them all, because once you know the first term and you know what it's going up by each time, you're probably going to want to use those formulas that we have given you in the past. I've asked you to keep a sheet that's got all these formulas on it. In class here, I wrote them on the board for the sum of the geometric terms, etc. Okay, so anyway, puzzle is optional. These two are skips. These two are yes, you should do them. And then number 10, you should be able to do. I'm going to give you this little hint. You might want to write it at the top. When it increases in size by 15% per week, don't make the mistake of multiplying by 0.15. That would make it shrink a lot. You got to multiply by 1.15 to get it to grow. And it says hint, use geometric sum equation. I'm going to write it just, but I have it in class here, but just to remind for people at home, the geometric sum one goes like this. And you can write both this one and this one backwards and say r to the n minus 1 and r minus 1. Why? Because you could multiply by negative 1 on the top and the bottom. So those can be backwards and have the r's first if you want. Then you don't have so many negative numbers running around if you do it that way. All right, number 12 is a skip. Number 7 is a challenge problem. I don't want to cross it off because I think some of you could do this one. It is optional though. And then these two are the last ones I want you to do. And they're interesting because they don't tell you how many terms to do. You might say, well, how am I supposed to know what they add up to if you don't tell me how many terms to do? You can figure out what term that is once you know your starting value and then what it's doing each time, which in this case, it looks like it's going down 2 each time, which is a d. Its difference is negative 2. Once you know that, you can go, oh, I can figure this out. I can figure out that that's the 23rd term or whatever. You use the right formula. Again, in this case, it would be the a sub n. I'm going to pause for a moment here. I'm back. A sub n is equal to, and then this is the sum one. So you go a0 plus d times n minus 1. In this case, I know what the d is. It's negative 2. And I know what the starting amount is. It's 4. And then you can solve by putting the negative 146 into the right spot in this formula and figure out which term it was. Okay, so anyway, those are the last two problems that you do is those two. The rest of it's all skips. All right, so now you know what your homework is for tonight. What are we doing between now and then? Well, we're going to do a bunch of practice problems, and they're in the form of a homework quiz. So we're going to take this little quiz in class in a moment, but I'm going to get you prepared for it first by just kind of messing with you a little bit on if I said those three numbers, what formula could you write that would have generated that sequence? In other words, is it like a sub n minus 2? No, totally wrong. Do you know how to find the formula? Well, there's 4 formulas on the board up there. First job, figure out if you're doing a arithmetic or geometric. Then you got to narrow down to only 2. And then I didn't ask you to add up all the terms. I asked you to write me a formula that would generate these terms. I'll pause for a minute while you give that a try. Okay, let's see if you were on the right track. A sub n is a0 plus d times n minus 1, but I know stuff. Like, for instance, I know that a0 is 10. I'm putting a 10 there. And I know the D, the difference each time is it's going down 2. So I'm going to put a minus 2 right there. And then n minus 1, well, I need an n in it, otherwise I can't generate multiple terms. If I just say n is 2, well, then this isn't really a formula. It's just exact directions on how to find the second term. Now, to be sure you're right, all you'd have to do is go back and look at this thing and go, okay, what if I stuck in a 1? 1 minus 1 is 0, and this whole thing becomes 0, and then 10 plus 0 is 10, and oh, that is the first term. And if I put in a 2 for the second term, then 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 10 makes 8. Hey, it's working. Yay. Okay, last thing. Yes, sir. You actually multiplied it out? Sure, you can multiply this whole thing out. And then you would have had negative 2n plus 2, and then a positive 10, and then you probably put the 10 and the 2 together and said 12 minus 2n. Totally okay. We do the same thing. It's just one's multiplied out and one's not. Can you turn around, please? Thank you. All right, so either this or that are just fine. Now, one more thing. Do you get that if I asked you to make me a sigma problem that was like this, except it added up the first 8 terms, that all I'd have to do is go like this? That'd be a sigma for the first 8 terms. It's the big E looking thing. And if I stick a 1 in, it's going to get me 10, just like I would expect. Okay. If I stick in a 2, it's going to get me an 8, just like I would expect. Okay. Why don't you, for practice, do one similar to this, except I'm going to have it be one of those kind that's growing and geometric. Notice, all I did here was put the a sub n formula, and I stuck in the stuff I knew. And you can simplify it, yes, but you don't have to. Simplifying it does make it better, but because it's simpler to stick stuff into then. All right, so let's try this one. Let's say it's going 2, and it's timesing by 3 makes 6, and it's timesing by 3 again makes 18, dot, dot, dot. I'd like to know a sigma form for this that would make me add up the first 5 terms. How would you write that in a sigma? I'm going to pause for a moment to let you work on that. Okay. The a sub n formula that generates any term you want for a geometric goes like this. I start with the starting value, a sub 0, and I times it by r to the n minus 1. Did you use that formula? Good. Then you should have stuck in a 2. And the r is 3 to the n minus 1. And I think that works. Now, how do I tell for sure that that works? Well, I want to do the first 4 terms, so I'm going from 1. How many? Did I say 4 terms, or what did I say? Okay, sorry. 5 terms. I didn't write that down. So there we go. I should go 1 to 5, and I should check it by putting a 1 in here. And I get 3 to the 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Something went tragically wrong. No, 3. I get it. Okay, 1 minus 1. Sorry, 1 minus 1 makes 0. 3 to the 0 makes 1. And then 2 times 1 does make 2, so yay. It actually replicated the first term. I'll double check that by checking the second term. I stick in a 2. Then I get 2 minus 1 is 1. 3 to the 1 is 3. 2 times the 3 makes 6. There it is. It's working. Question? Yes, sir. Why should what? Why is it n minus 1? Well, first of all, because the formula that we have is like this. an equals a0 times r to the n minus 1. So I just copied the formula. The reason the formula is that way is if I have, like, for instance, let's say I want to find the third term. How many little swooshes am I going to have to make to get from here to there? 1, 2. Notice it's the third term, but it's only 2 swooshes. That's why it's 1 less than. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's the stuff I wanted to preview your quiz with so that you're ready for it. And now I'm going to hand that out, and you're going to have a bunch of time to work on it. When you're done with it, then you're going to be just working on your homework for tonight. So I guess that's all I have for the video for today. It's kind of a review day.